Our topic is cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Cell membrane is basically the outermost covering, that is known as the outermost covering in the animal cell. As I specify the cell, that is animal cell, not the plant cell. Why? Because in the case of plants, it is present beneath the cell wall, like after cell wall. The outermost covering in plant cell, that is cell wall, then after that the cell membrane is there. But in animal cell, the outermost covering is of the cell is cell membrane. Now cell membrane is found, it is found in all type of cells, in all type of cells, like it can be eukaryotic cells or the prokaryotic cells. It is cell membrane is found in all type of cell. Cell membrane basically covers the cytoplasm in all the cells from environment, like it covers the cytoplasm. Now if we talk about the composition of cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Cell membrane is made up of lipids and protein. Now which type of lipids? Phospholipids. Cell membrane is basically made up of a lipid and protein, and lipids are a phospholipid. Now phospholipids has two ends, hydrophobic end and second is hydrophilic end. Hydrophobic is non-polar and hydrophilic is polar. Hydrophobic, if we talk about hydrophobic, it is associated face to face, and this hydrophilic end is basically associated with the carbohydrates, proteins, etc. So phospholipids has two ends, hydrophobic and hydrophilic. If we talk about like cell membrane is made up, as I said that cell membrane is made up of lipid and protein. It can be a phospholipid, but in animal cell other type of lipid is also present that we called as cholesterol. 50% of cholesterol is present in animal cell, but in plants or bacteria, etc., fungi and algae, cholesterol is not present. Some cell membranes like have 50% lipid. Okay, lipid can be, if we talk about the animal cell, it can be cholesterol, phospholipid, etc., and if 50% lipids and 50% protein. But if we talk about like every plant and etc., so it is 5 to 10% glycolipid or glycoprotein is also present. So that is, some cell membrane have 50% lipid and 50% protein, but sometimes it is also have 5 to 10% glycoprotein, and 50% cholesterol is also included in it. If we talk about the structure of cell membrane, now as we have discussed the composition, now we are going to discuss about the structure of cell membrane. There were two scientists, Danley and Dansel, in 1930. According to them, cell membrane is composed of bilayer of lipid bilayer, like bilayer of lipid surrounded by macromolecules of protein, like they said that it is a sandwich like structure, cell membrane. We are talking about the structure of cell membrane. Danley and Densel basically said that in 1930 they said that cell membrane is composed of bilayer of lipid that is surrounded by macromolecules of protein, and it is sandwich. The structure of cell membrane is sandwich like. But their theory, their discussion get wrong. In 1972, Singer and Nicholson, they both said, according to, they both give that model, that fluid mosaic model. According to the fluid mosaic model, the structure of cell membrane is composed of lipid bilayer, but in the form of fluid. As Danley and Densel said that it is composed of bilayer of lipid bilayer, but it is sandwich like a structure. But according to the fluid mosaic model, the structure of the cell membrane is composed of a lipid bilayer but in the form of fluid. Like the arrangement of proteins are like icebergs in water. In that fluid, the arrangement of proteins are like icebergs in water. So they said that the cell membrane is basically in the form of fluid. Now in cell membrane there are two types of proteins. One is intrinsic protein and second is extrinsic protein. Now what are the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic? Intrinsic protein is basically inside the cell membrane, and extrinsic protein is outside the cell membrane. Like it is a strike to the cell membrane outside. It is not inside, it is outside. Intrinsic protein is known as a channel protein, and extrinsic protein is known as a carrier protein. It carries all the material, so that is why it is, because it is outside the cell membrane, so that is known as extrinsic protein. And it basically channel protein. It transferred that material inside the cell cytoplasm, so that is known as extrinsic protein. That is why we said them as a channel protein.